Hello friends and Happy New Year! 2009 is over, but it definitely deserves its props because it was another banner year in music for me. I made 89 posts on my onthatnote.com blog, some of them including multiple acts for festivals like South by Southwest and ACL. I did some traveling, saw some old favorites, and made some new ones. And in 2009, I came up with this idea for a little interview show in my house, patterned after the Elvis Costello show on Sundance. And I was very happy with the results of that, and some amazing people came over to talk to me. So I thought I'd share with you some of the fantastic highlights of my year in music. I started things off at the Grounded in Music event at the Gibson Guitar Center that featured Patty Griffin. She's one of my favorite musicians, and she actually just lives down the street from me. As always, Waterloo Records had some good in-stores for CD releases. Here's Ben Kweller. And Fastball put out their newest release, Little White Lies. And the Steps released their Take It All In EP. A huge highlight was getting to see Ockerville River perform on the Austin City Limits stage for the television show. Of course, they wouldn't allow cameras for that, so here's a clip of them during South by Southwest. A falling star wished to fall, that crashed the sky and was gone. During South by, I was asked by the Gibson Guitar people to interview musicians on the Gibson bus. I interviewed 17 bands over the course of 2 days. Of course, I saw tons of great bands at South by, and you can go to onthatnote.com and check out all the coverage, but here are a few highlights. This is Choo Choo the Band from Switzerland, a band I became friends with via Twitter. The Texas Music Party during South by featured one of my favorite acts. This is Future Clouds and Radar featuring Robert Harrison. As always, you can see great acts without even having a badge. This was the Joe's Coffee Party, and it's Gary Loris and Mark Olson of the Jayhawks. Spoon played Austin a few times this year. They had a big Spoon x3 festival at Stubbs, but an even hotter ticket was a few months before that, them playing at the Scoot Inn, and I have to thank my friend Backline Show for hooking me up with tickets for that. I had a really fun trip to New York in June and got to see several bands. Here's Better Than Ezra, and they're still actively recording with tons of fans. They put on a great show at the Fillmore. And anytime any version of the Lemonheads or Evan Dando is around, I have to see him perform. This was also a great show at the Bowery Ballroom. So now we get to the Old 97s, who I was lucky enough to see several times this year. They did a 4-night stand in Hoboken called An Evening with the Old 97s, in which Murray Hammond played a solo set, Rhett Miller played a solo set, and then a full band set with the Old 97s. Well, I must have been stoned when this whole thing started. This year you've gotten on Twitter, and we've talked about
Yes,
some social media
thank
things.
you.
So while I was in New York, Rhett agreed to do an episode of my interview show with me, and I was just so honored that he would take the time out to spend some time chatting with me. It was really a fun day.
Lots of interesting stuff. I mean, from saying, oh, we've got a day off in Chicago, who has baseball tickets? And getting offers of, I could have had 16 tickets to the Cubs game we went to.
Yeah, my friend actually had some tickets for you. And while I'm not ranking any of these highlights from 2009, I'd have to say that the two-song private concert that Rhett gave for the show will easily go down as one of the best days of my life. So after doing the interview with Rhett, I met the person who produced his album, Salim Nirala, and got to know him, and he did an interview for my show, as well as the guys from Buttercup. And here they all are playing in Austin at the Mohawk along with the Death Ray Davies. It was really one of my favorite shows of the year. And it turned out while I was in Boston, Paul McCartney was going to be there playing at Fenway Park, so I couldn't pass up my first chance to see a Beatle. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Also while I was in Boston, there was a reunion show for this band O Positive, and I've been a fan of them since like the mid-'80s. It was really kind of ironic that they were playing a rare gig during my trip there. One thing about you, painting flowers at your moon, so loud. I was definitely excited when I heard that one of my favorite radio stations of all time, WOXY, was moving to Austin, and they had sort of an introductory party at the Scoot Inn when they arrived in early fall, and here's the band Black Before Red playing. They're a really great indie station, and I think their presence here in Austin is going to do a lot for the music scene. So now we get to ACL Festival time, and by far the highlight for me was the French band Phoenix playing at the festival. They played to a huge and enthusiastic crowd. You probably heard about the bad weather and the rain at ACL Festival, but that really didn't seem to matter as I was watching John Vanderslice. And here's Austinite Bob Schneider, proving once again that he's an amazing performer. And it's really not a year in music for me unless I get to see Wilco. I only got to see them one time this year because they came to Austin to the new Cedar Park Center, and it was a great show. The city kept blinking. What was I thinking when I let you back in? Another really special show was Fran Healy and Andy Dunlop of Travis performing at a downtown church. Basically, they just told stories about all the songs they had written from beginning to end, and I've never really seen anything like it. It was one of my favorite times of the year.
This is on that Gordon record that the baggage handler...
Okay, so Barenaked Ladies, I've been a huge fan of them since like 1992, and some things had happened with them this year, and I was really looking forward to seeing them again. So they did a radio Christmas acoustic show in San Antonio in December, and so I jumped at the chance to get down there and check in with the guys and really see how things were going with them.
You're looking at me like there's something I'm supposed to say. You think you're so smart, but I've seen you naked. I'll probably see you naked again.
So I usually end the year with an All 97 show, and this was no exception, although they didn't play Austin. They were doing a 4-night stand of an evening with the All 97s in Dallas at Sons of Herman Hall. I was able to squeeze in the last one of those shows, and boy was I glad I made the trip. so much energy, and always a great time.
Today's gonna be today, and the time is gonna be right now. No, I'm never gonna fall for anyone else but her. The place is gonna be right here on the road called Oppenheimer.
So that's 2009 in review for me. I was so lucky to see so many great bands and to interview so many talented people. Check out onthatnote.com for all the shows I attended, and click the Sessions tab for the interviews and acoustic performances. Here's to a great 2010, and I hope to see you at a show.